Today we continue Sampajañña Pabba, clear comprehension. In the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the great discourse on the foundations of mindfulness, the first foundation, contemplation on the body, is divided into 14 sections. Beginning with mindfulness of breathing, ānapāna. This is followed by mindfulness of postures of the body, iddhiyabhata. And the third session describes mindfulness with clear comprehension, sampajañña. Though short, it is one of the important texts for those yogi who practice vipassana meditation. In the commentary, the detailed instruction is given. Before we try to understand clear comprehension, first we must understand clear comprehension. Comprehension is correct understanding. There are 4 kinds of clear comprehension. Number 1, sattaka sampajañña, clear comprehension of what is beneficial or what is not. Number 2, clear comprehension of what is suitable or not suitable, sappaya sampajañña. Number 3, gochara sampajañña, clear comprehension of resort. And number 4, asamoha sampajañña, clear comprehension of non-delusion. What is clear comprehension of non-delusion, asamoha sampajañña? It is the insight that there is no entity of any kinds of the seeing, any kinds that sees or causes to see. It is knowing that when there is intention to look, when there is intention to see, the consciousness produces the air element. With the air elements or particles of air elements, there arises what is called bodily expression or bodily intimation. And that means movement. To follow the commentarial explanation of seeing with the diffusions of vaya dhatu, the air elements, the lower eyelids drops down and upper eyelids goes up. When this happens, there is seeing. You see something. At the moment of seeing, there arises seeing consciousness. There is no self, there is no soul that sees or makes you see. It is not I that see, it is not I who makes seeing. There is just seeing consciousness arising as a result of eyelids opening up because of the diffusions of air elements caused by mind, caused by the intention to see. Stated another way, when you want to see, there is the intention to see, and that causes the air elements. That air elements causes movement in the eyelids, which causes them to open. Seeing is just that. There is no person, there is no atta involved in seeing. We have used the term seeing consciousness in order to explain the process more clearly. However, the Pali words is not seeing consciousness. It functions as seeing. That is what we call seeing. When you pay attention to what you are seeing, you will notice that the eyelids move because of the wind or air elements, and because there is eye consciousness, which performs the function of seeing. When we understand seeing this way, we are said to have clear comprehension of non-delusion with regard to seeing. The commentary next explains the first three ways to understand the clear comprehension of non-delusion. This may not be so easy for yogis to grasp because the knowledge of Abhidhamma is needed to understand it. But as these ways are given in the commentary, we have to explain them to make things clear to yogi. We have been discussing clear comprehension of non-delusion with regards to seeing. It is now time to ask what seeing is in the light of Abhidhamma. When is the meaning phenomena according to Abhidhamma? We are looking at the process and functions of consciousness. When we see something, there is what is called the seeing thought process. We see an object with one or more thought processes. A single thought process consists of 17 moments of consciousness, though sometimes there may be fewer. Before we see something, our mind is at rest. It is not seeing the object. It is in a subconscious state called bhavanga, the life continuum, which goes on and on and on from life to life. This passive mind is subject to disturbances whenever a sense object impinges on one of the senses. Its brief arousal sets in motion a thought process. When a visible object strikes the eye sensitivity, at the same time, it also strikes the bhavanga. which then vibrates. After 2 moments of vibrating, the bhavanga falls, and in its place, active mind arises. This first active consciousness is called adverting, turning to the object presented. It initiates a series of active thought moments. After adverting, avijjana, there is seeing consciousness, chakku vijnana, seeing the object, coming into contact with it. After seeing the object, there is a receiving or accepting consciousness, sampaticchana. Receiving consciousness is followed by investigation as to whether it is good or a bad object. After investigating santirana citta, there is determining uttapana, deciding that the object is good or deciding that it is bad. At this point, the object is not yet fully experienced, but after determining, there are 7 thought moments during which full experience of the object takes place. In Pali, these 7 moments are called javana, meaning swift. They are followed by 2 registering thought moments, dhāramana, which review the entire thought process. Beginning with the bhavanga, there are altogether 17 moments of consciousness in one thought process, all arising and falling in sequence with extreme rapidity. This thought process is called Pinchadvaraviti, the 5 sense door thought process, because it arises through the 5 sense doors: eyes door, ears door, nose door, tongue doors, and body doors. We have described it in terms of seeing, because seeing is the focus of our concern. At this point, it might be useful to review the 17 units of consciousness that arise. They are bhavanga and its 2 vibration, adverting, avijjana, seeing, chakku vijnana, receiving, sampaticchana, investigating, santirana, determining uttapana, 7 moments of javana, and 2 registering moments, dhāramana. Now we should turn to the javanas. When we see a person or when we see an object, there may be a feeling of attachment or aversion, even anger. This might be assumed to occur during the jhana moments when the object is being fully experienced. However, the commentary explained that at the first moment of jhana, there is no attachment, aversion, or delusion. At that moment of jhana, there is only seeing without any color or taint. The same is true for the remaining 6 moments, for all of the jhanas are identical in kind, varying only in intensity. Attachment or anger towards the object does not happen during these 7 moments. Why is that? That is because in the 5 sense door, Pincha Dvara Viti, thought process, the jhana are very, very weak. Although they are all of the same kind and can be kusala wholesome or akusala unwholesome, they are too weak to manifest as attachment or aversion. So they really don't amount to much in this procedure. Then, when do attachment, aversion, and delusion arise? The 5 sense door thought process, Pincha Dvara Viti, is followed by another process called the mind door thought process, Mano Dvara Viti. There are 3 distinct mind door processes that can follow. Only in the mind door thought processes do the jhanas become strong, jhana become powerful. It is during these moments that attachment or aversion to things arise. As the commentary explained in the 5 sense door thought process, Pincha Dvara Viti, there is no attachment, aversion, or delusion during the moments of jhana. Attachment or aversion towards the object arises only later in the mind door processes, Mano Dvara Viti. Understanding this is called understanding by accurate knowledge of the root. What means root? Root here means the 5 sense door thought process, Pincha Dvara Viti. Understanding according to accurate knowledge of the root is one way of understanding the clear comprehension of non-delusion. Another way of understanding is with reference to the visible object. When it impinges on the eye sensitivity, the bhuvinga vibrates and is followed by the sequence of adverting, seeing, receiving, and so on, so forth. Each type of consciousness performs its own function and then disappears. The 8 moments of consciousness preceding the jhanas are either functional or resulted. They cannot produce karma. The visible object is like the house of the moments. The javanas arise like guests in this house. Unlike the previous moments, they have kusala and akusala roots and can produce karma. So in this thought process, they are like guests in the house of the other types. As guests, they cannot do anything with strength. When a guest comes to a house to ask for something and is met with silence, he is restricted. He cannot say anything or order anybody to give him anything. The position of the javanas is like that. As the prior types of consciousness have no aversion or attachment towards the object, so also at the moment of javana in the five sense door process, pinchadaraviti, there is no active anger, attachment or ignorance, lobha, dosa, moha. Understanding this way is called understanding by the causal state. The next understanding is by way of a temporary state. The thought moments, together with their concomitants in the five sense door thought process, arise and disappear. They do not intrude on each other, and they have a very short duration. When they have disappears, the javanas arise. When somebody enters a house in which people have just dined, it is impossible as well as inappropriate for him to delight in song and dance. For he too is going to die at that very moment. The same is true of the javanas. When they arise in the five sense door thought processes, pinchadaraviti, just as the preceding thought moments have come and go, so too will the javanas pass away on arising. They have no power to become attachment or anger at that moment because their duration is so brief. Though a knowledge of Abhidhamma is needed, clear comprehension of non-delusion can be understood in this way. The commentary gives 4 more ways to understand clear comprehension of non-delusion. They are by way of aggregate skandha, basis ayatana, elements dhatu and causal conditions, patthana. By way of aggregates, what is seeing? What is there when we see something? There must be the eye sensitivity and something to be seen. Both the eye sensitivity and the visible objects are aggregates of matter, rupa khanda. There are 5 aggregates of matter, rupa khanda, aggregates of feeling, vedana khanda, aggregates of perception, Sinya khanda, aggregates of mental formation, sankhara khanda, and aggregates of consciousness, vijnana khanda. In the act of seeing, the eye sensitivity and the visible objects are aggregates of matter, rupa khanda. See is the aggregates of consciousness, vijnana khanda. The feeling concomitance of the seeing consciousness is the feeling aggregates, vedana khanda. The perception concomitance of the seeing consciousness is the perception aggregates, sinya khanda. Other mental factors that are concomitants of seeing consciousness are aggregates of mental formation, sankhara khanda. When these 5 aggregates come together, there is looking straight ahead and looking sideways. Who is it that sees? Who is it that looks this way or that way? Just these 5 aggregates. By way of 5 aggregates, we can understand that seeing is just the working of phenomena. There is no person, no atta, no soul entity or whatever involved in it. In order to see this, we must understand the 5 aggregates. We must recognize each aggregate and know its function. Seeing can also be understood according to the 12 bases ayatana. The eye sensitivity is the eye base, chikkayatana, the visible object is form base, seeing is mind base, the concomitants of mind are dhamma base. When these 4 bases come together, there is looking straight ahead and looking sight away. So how can there be any agent, any I, any atta, or whatever? How can there be? We may also understand seeing by way of elements. There are 18 elements. The eye sensitivity is chakudadu, eye elements. The visible object is rupadadu. Form elements, see is eyes. Consciousness elements, chakuviññana. The concomitants, such as feeling and other mental factors, are dhamma elements, dhamma dhatu. When these 4 elements come together, there is looking straight ahead and looking sight away. So there can be no atta or no I in the act of seeing. In clear comprehensions of non-delusion, according to causal relations, the I serves as a support condition. The visible object serves as object condition, aramana. The consciousness preceding the seeing consciousness serves as proximity condition, anantara, meaning that there is no gap between that consciousness and the seeing consciousness. The light serves as decisive support condition, upanisaya. Feeling and other mental factors serves as cognizant condition, sajata, to that seeing consciousness. So seeing consciousness is supported by many conditions. When these conditions come together, there's looking straight ahead and looking sideways. There can be no atta, no self, no ego, no I that sees. There are just these conditions coming together, and when that happens, there is what we call seeing. Understanding in this way, with reference to aggregates, bases, elements, and causal condition, is called clear comprehension of non-delusion in looking straight ahead and looking sideways. Yogi who do not have a knowledge of abhidhamma may not see looking straight ahead and looking sideways in this way. If you do not see, don't think that you are doing something wrong. Though you may not see in this way, you can be aware of the seeing and the object that is being seen. You can be aware of the consciousness preceding the seeing. You can be aware of some of the other moments. Except for someone like the fully enlightened Buddha. It is very difficult to see all of them. For mind comes and goes very quickly. It is said that in the snap of the fingers, in the twinkling of an eye, or in the flash of lightning, there can be millions and millions of thought moments. Chitakana. You may have guessed that some kinds of thinking is involved in these various approaches to clear comprehension of non-delusion. When giving meditation instruction, we tell you not to think of anything, but just to watch and just be mindful. In the beginning, it is good not to think anything. Just be mindful of things presented to you because you cannot afford to have distraction at that time. But when you have progressed to this stage, you can do a little thinking. Actually, the Vipassana knowledge called comprehension knowledge means thinking. First, you see directly the impermanence of Namarupa. Then from the impermanence of present things, you infer the impermanence of the past, future things. This indirect or inferential vipassana, nibbāna, is just thinking, but it is not thinking devoid of any direct understanding. First, there is direct understanding, then, based on that, you think of something. So, although there is inferential thinking, it is based on experience, the experience of direct understanding. There's no harm in doing a little thinking when you have reached this stage. As the discourse on the 4 foundations of mindfulness makes clear, mindfulness with clear comprehension applies even to the bending and stretching of limbs. Before bending and stretching the limbs, first yogi should find out whether it is purposeful to do so. Only when it is purposeful, one is to bend or stretch. When a meditator sits with arms or legs bent or stretched out for a long time, he experiences pain, maybe at every moment. If the pain is more than he can manage, he does not get concentration. His meditation may fall away entirely and he will get no results from the practice. But a person who bends or stretches his limbs at the right time does not experience pain. When there is no pain and he is comfortable, he gets concentration of mind. His meditation develops and he gets results from the practice. There is the comprehension of purpose in bending and stretching. When is the right time to bend or stretch? When practicing meditation, you need a little comfort. There's no need to suffer pain without reason. So if you have sat for a long time and feel real pain, and that pain is an obstacle to meditation, then you may change your postures in order to ease the pain so meditation can continue. We should practice the middle way, Micchima Patipada, here by not stretching or bending. As soon as an unpleasant feeling arises, but only when pain becomes unbearable and is an obstacle, obstruction to meditation, then we may bend and stretch the arms and legs. And the next step is clear comprehension of suitability in bending and stretching. Although bending and stretching may be purposeful and beneficial, if yogi does it at the wrong moment, at the wrong time, there can be undesirable consequences. The commentary describes several disastrous incidents. At one time on the terrace of a great religious shrine, some young monks were reciting the Dharma teachings. Sitting in the back of them were some young nuns listening to the recitation. One of the young monks accidentally touched a nun while he was stretching his arms towards the back. Because of this unmindful action, pamada, coming into bodily contact with a female, he became a layman. For by getting involved, they had to dissolve and leave the order. Another monk, in stretching his leg, extended it into a fire where his foot was burnt to the bone. This monk seems to have been very careless. It must have been a very great fire to have burnt his foot to the bone, but he was not conscious or aware of the flames. Yet another monk stretched his leg into an anthill where he was bitten on the foot by a poisonous snake. As the snake was poisonous, the monk must have died. Another monk was less unfortunate. He stretched out his hand until it rested on the pole of a tent made of ropes. A ribbon snake on the pole bit his hand. As the snake was not so poisonous, the monk may have suffered some pain, but he probably did not die. So when stretching or bending limbs, yogis must be mindful so that he do not suffer pain or loss of life because of careless action. Clear comprehension of suitability is knowing whether it is suitable to bend or stretch at a particular time or particular place. Clear comprehensions of resort gochara sambazinya means the practice of meditation. In this context, applying mindfulness whenever yogi bends or stretch is clear comprehension of result. It is illustrated by the story of a senior monk. A great Thera at one time bent his arm quickly while seated in his day quarters talking to his resident pupils. Then he brought his arm back to its original position and again bent it, but slowly this time. Curious, the pupils asked, Bande, after bending the arm quickly, after having placed it in the position it was first in, why did you bend it slowly? Why did you take the arm back to the place and bend it again? So it is he tried to punish his forgetfulness. The Thera replied, "Oh my friends, ever since I began to practice mindfulness meditation, I've never bent my arm without mindfulness. While I was talking with you, I forgot about mindfulness. Just then I bent without mindfulness. That is why I took my arm to the place and bent it again." Thera replied, and the pupil said, "Bande, it is good. A monk should be like this." In practicing meditation, yogi should not forget to be mindful of any bending or stretching of the arms or legs. It is the clear comprehension of result in bending and stretching. It just means applying mindfulness to the bending or stretching of any limbs. Then there is clear comprehension of non-delusion, asamoha sampajiññā. The yogis see that bending is only the diffusion of the process of movement by the diffusions of air elements born of mental activities. There is bending and stretching. It is like the moving of legs and hands of a marionette. When the strings are pulled, he sees clearly without confusion that in this act of bending or stretching, they are only the intention to bend or intention to stretch, and the bending and stretching itself and nothing else. There is only the intention and the action. There is no soul, no permanent entity, no I, no person, no individual that bends or stretches. Seen this way is called clear comprehension of non-delusion in bending and stretching. In bending and stretching, we must understand the four kinds of clear comprehension: clear comprehension of purpose, clear comprehension of suitability, clear comprehension of result, and clear comprehension of non-delusion. In order to attain the states of clear comprehension of non-delusion, what must we do? We must practice meditation. We must apply mindfulness whenever we bend or stretch. When mindfulness meditation is practiced until clear comprehension of result matures, clear comprehension of non-delusion arises by itself. In the beginning, only the bending and stretching will be seen. At first, we may not even see the intention preceding it, but later on, the intention will become clear. With further practice, yogi will become aware of the awareness of the bending and stretching. After seeing these three things clearly, without mixing one with the other, we come to see that in the acts of bending, There is only the intention, the bending itself, and the awareness of the bending. Apart from these three things, there is no I, no soul, or whatever. When we see in this way, we will have perfected clear comprehension of non-delusion in bending or stretching. But until reaching this stage, we must make effort in clear comprehension of result, which opens the eyes, which opens the door to non-delusion. So we will continue next week. We have to stop our discourse for today by practicing vipassana meditation, by making effort in clear comprehension of result, gochara sampadhinya, by noting, rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, stretching, bending, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all yogis realize the real peace in the very near future.